So today the presentation is Mind-Wise, Body Foolish. One of the most common things that I say to people whenever they first start working with me is, you are an amazing mind that's been dragging a body around for too long. In our society, we live so much in our minds that we forget that life actually happens through our bodies. And because of this imbalance, we are creating a lot of the major problems that we have in our society today, including our health and our healthcare system. So, if you need me to speak louder, just say anything. Also, whenever I give presentations, I really like to do this more of a conversation rather than just a lecture. I mean, I can sit up here and talk forever and ever and ever. But if you have any questions, if you have any thoughts, any concerns, curiosities, comments, just shout them out. Let's have a conversation instead of me just being up here blabbing to you. So, one of the things I want you to be aware of right now is that some of the things that I say are going to be disturbing. They're not disturbing because they're not true. They're very disturbing because what is true is so counter to the way that we've been living and what we've been taught. It's a little bit uncomfortable whenever we start to hear some of this stuff for the first time. So you'll notice on your desk that you have a handout. And on that handout, there's a little picture of a body. I'm going to ask you to be interactive during this presentation, and any time that you hear something that you either like or you don't like, what's positive or what negative, I'm going to ask you to mark on that little body, where do you feel that experience of something you like or something you don't like. And at the end of this, we're going to chat a little bit about what some of this stuff means and how to actually use it. Okay? This discomfort that I'm going to put you into, it's because I really care for you. And I don't want you continuing on, going down a pathway that's just never going to work. And so I'm okay disrupting you as long as that's going to lead to a better place. So, like PJ said, my name is Dr. Tad. I'm not only a chiropractor, I'm actually a board-certified addictionologist as well. And that's kind of a weird thing, isn't it? Has anybody heard of a chiropractor that's an addictionologist also? Well, what I've come to find is that the biggest challenges that most people have in overcoming issues with their health and getting into more health and more wellness is literally an addiction to staying the same and doing things the same way. That stops us from actually making progress. And we're going to talk a lot about that today. And what I'm really hoping to give you today is some ease. Some ease to know that becoming healthier, becoming well, is actually simpler and it's more enjoyable than most of us believe. So one of my favorite quotes that I relate to health is that a society, and that's what I'm into social health. I want health for everybody, not just individuals. But a society grows great when old men plant trees whose shade they know they will never sit in. One of the fundamental principles of health that we do not understand in our society is that health is not for us. In the same way that the seeds of a tree are not for that tree. Our health is the greatest gift that we have to give to those that we love. Our health is the greatest gift that we have to give to society because it's our health that's going to plant the seeds for what happens in future generations. So I'm going to ask you, how do you approach your health? Do you approach your health like a hunter-gatherer who's living day by day, looking for the next potion and lotion that's going to help you in this moment, surviving moment to moment? Do you approach your health like a gardener or an agrarian, where you're working with the seasons, you're working with the things that are happening, you're stockpiling, you're storing your health, knowing and building it, knowing that there's going to be times of feast and there's going to be times of famine? Or do you approach your health like an industrialist? Are you actually going out and seeking resources, seeking collaboration, seeking relationships with other people so that you build so much health and wellness that you have an abundance to give to everyone? I don't know how much you know about the health in our society. Is there anybody here who thinks that we live in a very healthy society? Good. We all at least know that. Now, here's what's fascinating. Even though we all know that the health statistics in our society are atrocious, whenever we look at the resources that we have, it doesn't make sense. We have the most doctors per capita out of any other country. We have the best medical technology. We have the best resources, okay? And we spend the most on healthcare than any other country. We spend more than $3.5 trillion. Now, that sounds like a big number, right? But we don't really recognize how big of a number that is. If you were going to count 1, 2, 3, 4 without sleeping, without eating, how long do you think it would take you to count to 3.5 trillion? Throw out some numbers. What do you guess? Anybody?
10 years.
10 years? Anybody else? 20 years. Okay? It would actually take us 300 centuries. 30,000 years just to count to what we spend every year on our health care. And yet, what do we actually get for that? What we actually get is we have the lowest life expectancy at birth of any modernized country in the world. We have the highest death rates from avoidable and treatable conditions than any other country on the planet. Did you know that this is the worst industrialized country to be born in? We have the highest rate of people with multiple chronic conditions, and we have the highest obesity rate, twice any other place in the world. So even though we have the most resources, we have some of the worst outcomes. And there's reasons for that, and that's because of the way that we approach health. Most of us approach health like a hunter-gatherer. Like, I just got to fix it just real quick, and then I can just move on to the next thing. And this is causing a lot of our problems. So,
Light at the end of the tunnel?
there is light. Don't worry, I'm not going to depress you all, okay? Because getting out of this is actually simpler than it really sounds, okay? So did you know that 90% of seniors have at least one chronic medical condition, and 77 have 2 or more? Now, a chronic condition is defined as an illness that is prolonged. It does not resolve spontaneously, and it is rarely cured completely. So even though we have this, did you also know that chronic conditions are some of the most easily preventable issues that we have? Okay, there's a mismatch between what we have, okay, and how we're using it. Okay, and chronic conditions account for 60% of our medical cost. We could drastically change how we allocate money in this country if we would just change our focus in how we relate and how we approach chronic conditions. So, according to the CDC, does anybody know what the leading cause of death and disease is? Heart disease? Heart disease, okay? And that's definitely one of the symptoms of the leading cause. But according to the CDC, the leading cause of death and disease is our lifestyle. Oh man, we can't blame somebody else. Dang it! Okay, does anybody know what the second leading cause of death and disease is, according to the U.S. Medicine's Committee on Quality of Healthcare in America? Anybody? It's the medical interventions for preventable issues. So not only is our lifestyle causing most of our problems, but then we're adding to those problems trying to treat something without looking at our actual lifestyle. Okay? And whenever I talk about lifestyle, don't worry, I'm not talking about eating salads for the rest of your life. That's not what this is about. Nobody would want to live that long if that's all you could do to change your lifestyle. Okay? It's actually simpler than we really believe. But the question is, if we need to change our lifestyle, how do we do it? And what do we need to know in order to do it? So, one of my favorite Mark Twain quotes, "It ain't what you don't know that gets you into trouble. It's not like your lack of knowledge, lack of understanding that's causing our major problems. It's what we think we know for sure that just ain't so." And we are drowning in information in this country, and we are starved for wisdom. So, one of the first things to recognize is that health actually has nothing to do with measuring or monitoring symptoms. Did you know that there is a population that has no symptoms and they will never have any symptoms? Sounds nice, right? Except that population is the one that inhabits the graveyard. While you are alive, you will have symptoms. And having symptoms doesn't mean that you're not healthy. Whoa, what a concept. But everything in our society is based on monitoring, tracking, and talking about symptoms, isn't it? If you went to your doctor and you're like, "Hey doc, I have no symptoms," what would you get? Yeah, they would show you the exit door. Exactly, right? But if all we're looking at is symptoms, and health is not the absence of symptoms, we're not actually looking at health. I want you to think about this. How would you measure health other than looking at symptoms? Is there anything that you can think of that it's always good to have more of, and you could never have too much? Like, what about balance? Can you be too balanced, right? What about coordination? Can you have too much coordination? What about ease in your system? Could you be too at ease? How about joy? Could you have too much joy in your life? These are the things that we need to start looking at to really be able to measure, am I healthy or not? Not just, do I have a whole bunch of symptoms or not? So, did you know, on average, it takes about 7 to 10 years to replace every single cell of your body? You see this video over here? Those are cells in real time. Isn't that crazy? Your body is constantly changing. It's constantly reorganizing. It's constantly growing. But we have to recognize, how do we work with that constant change? Instead of just trying to manage it, make it do what we want it, since it's already doing that, and that's what we want, growth, change, health, right? How do we work with it? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, the thoughts that you think today, the feelings that you experience today, the beliefs that you follow today, the actions that you take today are what builds the body that you're going to live in the future. And the body that we have now is a direct result of all of those that we've had in the past. But most of us don't pay much attention to that, and we think, yeah, that's just stuff that happens. That's not anything that I can take part in. The truth is that our body is always healing. It's always growing. It's always adapting until the moment they put us into the population that has no more symptoms. But we need to make sure that we are choosing to lean into and support our body in growth. If we are not moving towards growth, then deterioration is going to choose us, because staying the same is not an option. This universe and everything in it is constantly in change. We can go one direction or we can go the other one. We cannot stay the same. But we have to choose which direction are we going to work with our body to go with. So, did you know that an older body can actually heal from broken bones faster than a younger body. Now, is this stuff that we normally hear about? Okay, and this is, again, this is peer-reviewed public research. Okay, this was done and published in the Journal of Bone in 2019. And what they found is that older adult bones, whenever the body is not in an inflamed state, actually heal fractures faster and better than younger people's do. But we don't hear stuff like this. All we hear about is you just got to make sure that that doesn't happen, right? Instead of going, well, wait a minute, why is that not happening? Okay? The myth is that our bodies, as we age, start to deteriorate and they heal and they grow slower. This is not true. This is what's popular. This is what we see. This is normal, but this is not natural. This is from another peer-reviewed study. Age-related changes affect many of the biologic processes. Yes, so when we age, our bodies do change. However, the contributions of these changes do not explain the poorer health outcomes and increased morbidity in older people. The reason being is we fundamentally don't understand how our bodies work. We keep trying to control them instead of recognizing they're a lot smarter than we give them credit for, and if we will work with them, then the older we get, the wiser we become. And that's the aging process. The aging process is a demand for us to live smarter than we were young and dumb. Our body's like, I'm not going to put up with you being an idiot anymore. You should have learned right now. And so our body, as we get older, punishes us for inefficiency. It's a little bit more lenient whenever we're younger. But we get these aches and pains as we get older because our body is telling us, if you keep going, I can't keep up with this. You need to change the way that you're approaching yourself in your life. Otherwise, my regenerative powers are not going to be able to keep up with this stress and chaos that you're bringing into this. So, did you know that 1 out of 10 people die within 1 year of retirement? That's ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. And 2 out of 10 people get diagnosed with a debilitating illness or disease. I mean, working your whole life, and then right in your golden years when you're supposed to be enjoying the most, you don't even get to cross the finish line? No, thank you. Now, how do you think early retirement affects these statistics? If you retire earlier, do you think that your chances of dying go up or go down? Do you think your chances of early death and disease go up with early retirement or go down? The earlier you retire, the worse these numbers get. Okay? It is not about avoiding stress. That's not what life is about. That's not what our bodies are about. Okay? The myth is that if I have less stress, I'll be healthier. That's not the truth, because passion and purpose are actually necessary chemistry in our body to grow and become healthier and to become stronger. Okay? And stress is actually necessary also. Without stress, our bodies deteriorate faster than they do with it. Astronauts that leave the stress of gravity, they have to work out multiple hours a day. Otherwise, their musculoskeletal system just wastes away because the body's very smart. It's very efficient. It's like, if you're not going to keep using this, I'm not going to keep it going. So stress is actually what tells our body, keep growing, keep becoming stronger, keep becoming wiser. But we have to fuel that stress response in a certain way. Okay? You cannot solve a problem with the same level of thinking that caused it. This is where we are in history today. We are dealing with the problems that all of our past solutions to life have caused. So we need to see things anew. We need to see our body anew. We need to see life anew. We need to see ourselves anew so that we can think differently and use all these amazing resources that we have to actually produce real good health outcomes. Okay, so what is it that we need to see anew? First off, we need to see the body anew. This is from Harvard Medical School, not wacko Dr. Tad's idea, okay? The body has a superior wisdom that is in favor of life, not death. Your body wants you to keep going. It's not attacking you. It's not breaking down to hurt you. It really does want the best for you, but we have to work with it. This is a power that we depend on for life, and all doctors are responsible for letting everyone know that the power to heal and grow and be healthy comes from the inside. It doesn't come from the outside. And I'm not knocking those outside things. Those are great tools, but they cannot make us happier, healthier, or give us more well-being. Okay? There's a kind of super intelligence that exists in each of us, and it is infinitely smarter and possesses more technical know-how far beyond our present understanding. This is one of the things that's really hard for us to grasp because health and disease and death is scary. And the major scary part is no one on the planet really knows how this body works. We just don't. We haven't gotten there information-wise and technology-wise. But guess what? Even without knowing how it works, you've been running this body up until this point. So guess what? You have this wisdom inside of you that only you can access that's actually going to help you get the most out of your body and your life. And we need to actually approach each individual and say, how can we support you finding what's best for you instead of everybody telling you what's best for you because nobody knows. Our body is precious life. Can you imagine if you were, raise your hands if you have kids, okay? Everybody in this room, raise your hands if you have grandkids, okay? If you're really honest with yourself and you're really honest with your relationship with your body, would you want your grandkids to be in a romantic relationship the same way that you have with your body? No, absolutely. We'd be like, get out of there. That's not healthy for you. That's an abusive relationship, right? But this is how we treat our bodies. We treat our bodies, most of us don't treat our bodies even as good as we treat our pets. And we take care of our cars better than we take care of our bodies. We treat our bodies as if they're some sort of vehicle, this machine that's just supposed to do what we want it to do so that we can produce, and get the job done. But our bodies are precious life. Every cell in our body is unique, and it has a unique personality, and it has a unique purpose. It's not there just to do what you say it's supposed to do. It's actually there for us to be in relationship. Okay? That's one of the benefits of the wisdom of age. Whenever I talk to a population like this, everyone in this room knows that they're not in control of their body. That's become blatantly obvious. But thankfully, our body is so kind, it's so loving, it will listen to us. It will respond to us, but it is not under our control. And the better of a relationship that we build with our body, the more intimacy, the more love we have with our body, do you think that maybe it'll listen to us a little bit better? You think it'll maybe say nicer things to us instead of just cussing at us through pain, right? Yes, it totally will. So here's another surprising thing. And again, this is from the American Journal of Human Genetics in Nature. I mean, like the tippy top of medical research. Neither genes nor environment cause disease. What causes disease is an organism, our body, is unsuited for adaptive or growth action in one or several environments. The environment around you is one environment. Your thought environment is another. Your emotional environment is another. Your social environment is another. Which one of those is your body screaming at you to make a change in because it's feeling abused? So, what is it that our body needs fundamentally in order to grow throughout our entire life? Okay, there's two fundamental things that our body needs. Okay, energy and information. Energy is how you fuel it, and information is the code or the instructions for what it does. Now, if you were born with a very debilitating congenital condition, okay, maybe the information that you have to work with might not be enough, okay? But for the vast majority of us, that's not it. If you really had a true issue, not being able to produce enough energy, you would have known that at birth. Okay? Very few of us have problems with the amount of information, of energy, or the quality of the information. What we have problems with is how do we use those? How are we using the energy that we have available to us? And there's two options. You can use your energy to get away from what you don't want, or you can use your energy to move towards what you do want. Can't do both at the same time. We will never get to what we want by avoiding what we don't want. If all I'm doing is trying to get away from this square right here, I could go in 1,000,001 directions. But if I choose to go towards this square here, I'm automatically going away from what I don't want, right? So we don't have to just stop giving up what we don't want, right? But we have to start putting more focus, using more of our fuel to identify and actually move towards what we do want. When we're moving away from what we don't want, we're in survival mode. We're in fear mode, okay? Our main priority is going to be safety and stability. Now, don't get me wrong, this is not bad. If there's tigers out there chasing you, you need to get away. Being in get-away mode is what allowed our ancestors to provide us with the genetic material that we are today. Yay! Thank you that they had to do that, but we don't. If we'll just turn off the news and actually be in the present moment, we'll recognize it is very rare that we need to really be in survival mode. Maybe for most of us, like once or twice a year. Somebody cuts you off in traffic, you have to slam on the brake. That's about it. Okay? Safety mode is about staying the same. When our ancestors had to run from those tigers, the changes those tigers wanted to make were not good changes. And so all of the resources in the body started being allocated towards what do I need to do to stay the same? Do I need to fight to stay the same? Do I need to run to stay the same? Do I need to hide to stay the same? Do I need to fawn? Do I need to please in order to stay the same? But we cannot stay the same and heal, grow, learn, adapt, thrive, or improve. Because all of these are based on change. And if we're not growing, we are deteriorating. So we have to make a conscious choice. Are we going to start here, or are we going to stay here? And retirement is the perfect time to make these changes. Everything in your life has changed from whenever you were 9 to 5 doing your career. So why not make this change simultaneously and make growth and thriving your new career? So, what is the number one biggest lifestyle factor that decreases, that turns our body away, turns off healing and growing? If you could bring it down, boil it down to one thing that causes us all to make these dumb life choices that lead to our horrible health statistics, what do you think that one thing would be that leads to everything else? Fear. Oh my gosh, you are totally right. It is 100% fear, okay? The enemy is fear. We think it's hate. We think it's all about, trying to attack those things that we don't like. But in reality, it's being stuck in trying to move away from what we don't like without the ability to actually move towards what we do like. Fear is very sneaky. Did you know that your body can be in fear and you don't feel it at all? Anybody worry? Yeah? Anybody feel tight in their body? Have tension around their shoulders, their neck? Guess what? That's fear. We don't have to feel afraid for our body to be in fear mode. And as a matter of fact, there are actually 3 unique fear pathways in the brain. There are 3 unique fears that our body processes and responds to differently. Number 1 is the fear of pain. Number 2 is the fear of conflict and being defeated, the fear of losing. And number 3 is the fear of death. These are unique ways that our body functions, and it's like a lens. It's like we have fear goggles on. And everything that we experience is experienced through these fear pathways. And the hard part is because we can't feel them, we can't just wait until we feel afraid. We actually have to develop a good enough relationship to our body to go, whoa, uh-oh, I'm in fear right now. Okay, body, what's happening here? How can I support you in dropping this fear mode right now? But if I wait to feel afraid and I don't notice this, I'm going to miss it. And I'm going to keep going through life looking through fear goggles, being like, why is this so terrible? When in reality, it's actually the way I'm looking at it that makes it terrible. Okay, now I'm going to show you what this is like. Okay, and this is going to be a good test for you to see how well are you able to get your body to speak to you and speak to your body. Okay, so I'm going to show you something that's going to produce fear. Okay, and I want you to mark down on your little sheet, where do you feel this? Okay, ready? I feel it right here. I look at this picture and I'm like, oh, it gets tight right here. It starts to burn. I get a little bit tingly behind my ears, right? This picture fires the fear of pain pathway in your brain. Okay? Now, if you don't feel anything, that's a sign that fear is so normal in your system, you're not even registering it anymore. And don't worry, there's a way out of this, okay? This is not permanent. You can regain this. But fear in our body is not logical. It's physiological. The fear of pain is not just physical pain. It's emotional pain. It's mental pain. It's spiritual pain, okay? Whenever you worry about your kids or your grandkids, okay, that worry is actually coming from the fear of pain pathway. You don't want to feel them suffering. That's totally understandable. This is a very good, healthy, biological system that we have. But is any of your worry going to change their lives other than maybe pushing them away from you a little bit more? So we have to recognize, when am I in a fear program and it's actually not going to get me anything beneficial? Okay? And how do I switch out of that? In order to switch out of the fear of pain, the antidote is actually to feel the pain. What would it be like? Feel it in your body if you were to watch your son or daughter struggling. If you were to watch your grandkids struggling, where does that fear live in your body? For me, it's down lower. If I was looking at my daughter struggling, ooh, it would hit me right down over here. But the second I feel that, it's like, oh, I don't like it, but it's not that bad. And it's definitely not bad enough to act crazy enough that they don't want to be around me. Once we feel the pain, we're no longer afraid of it. Even though we don't like it, we've turned off that fear pathway and we've helped our body move out of that fear response. The next one is the fear of conflict, the fear of defeat, the fear of loss. Okay? And this is not just, are we going to get into a physical fight? We get into this fight about life. Man, I should have been like this. Oh, things could be like this. When we are arguing with life, who do you think is going to win? Life or us? When we are arguing with that higher power that set everything up, who do you think is going to win that fight? We are going to be defeated, right? So it's not just the actual physical confrontation. It's our thoughts and ideas that are in conflict with the way that things are. That's the fear of defeat. But how do we turn this off? Believe it or not, when we fire the pathway of pleasure, we are turning off the fear of defeat. Oh my gosh. How great is it that we live in Colorado and have the amazing air that we do? Anybody from a big nasty city down south like I am? It's like I get outside every day and I'm like, oh my gosh, it feels so good to breathe here. Every time we activate a pleasure pathway, we are turning off the fear pathways. Okay? Practicing pleasure is not something that we wait for. Practicing pleasure is actually part and a necessary thing to do for our health, our wellness, and our growing. Because when we're in fear, we are turning off growth. And the last one is the fear of death. Okay? Now, the fear of death, that's an obvious one. I don't want to die. What's after that? I don't know. So it's the fear of the unknown. But the fear of death is also activated whenever we come up with a conflicting belief that we've had. Right? Well, I've been this person my whole life. And if this is not true, who am I? That old version of me has to die. Who am I if I no longer have my career to focus on? Going through the retirement process is actually a forced confrontation with the fear of death inside of our body. But you know what? There's an antidote. The antidote to the fear of death is actually learning. It's exploring. It's seeking new and novel experiences outside of what we're used to. And when we're curious, oh, what is this? How does this fit in? Oh, if this is true, well, what does that mean about who I can be? When we're activating this curiosity pathway, we're automatically turning off the pathway of the fear of death. So, to heal is to touch with love that which we previously touched with fear.
What a bunch of hippy-dippy baloney.
But it's true. Physiologically, in our body, the chemistry of love, which is regulated by oxytocin, actually causes our body to open up. It causes our body to relax. It causes our body to deactivate our reactivity to stress, and it stimulates the processes related to restoration and growth. So as hippy-dippy as it sounds, this is hard modern science that says if we are not focused on experiencing, not just thinking, but experiencing the love for our bodies, the love for our community, the love for our families, the love for our partners, the love for our lives, if we're not doing this on a regular basis, deterioration and fear is dragging us in the opposite direction, physiologically. So the myth is, I will feel good when circumstances align. The truth is, practicing feeling good actually makes us healthier. It helps us to grow. It decreases inflammation. Okay? It improves our capacity to learn and adapt. And it trains our brain to actually be sensitive to find more reasons to feel good. Focusing on feeling bad does the same thing. It trains our brain, keeps on that fear, those fear goggles, so that's easier for us to find more things to feel bad about. So we can choose to go back towards safety, or we can choose to move forward towards growth. Growth must be chosen again and again and again. And like I said before, crossing the transition point between career and retirement is the perfect opportunity to change the way that we see ourselves and we see life. Change is here. It's happening, whether you like it or not. So guess what? You might as well lean into it and say, you know what? From here on out, I'm going to make my new career being happy. Because being happy is the best thing that you can do for your body. Okay, so the practical takeaways. Do the simple things first. Not only us using our energy incorrectly is causing the vast majority of our health problems today, but we're missing the simple things. Does anybody know how much water your body needs per day? Like, do you know? Yeah, a couple of us, but not everybody. We're like 8 glasses. Okay, but your body's different. Do you know how much your body uniquely needs? Very, very close. Yeah, 6.8 or 60.8% or 68%, somewhere along those lines. But did you know that if you're not drinking enough water and your body's not able to use it, like that causes high blood pressure? Like, how many of us are on blood pressure medication because we're not drinking enough water? Like, it's super healthy, simple things. Does everybody know that because of your skin tone, you need a different amount of sunlight in order to produce the vitamin D? But not only that, but your hormones, like your progesterone and your testosterone and your estrogen, you need sunlight in order to do that. And everybody needs a different amount of sunlight. We all need to know what that is so that we can be getting that properly. So there's some basic, simple things that we do not do as a society that we're all medicating ourselves and having surgeries for, whereas if we could just do these really simple things, like drink a glass of water in the sunlight, we could make things so much better on ourselves. Now, at one point, I wrote an ebook on these basic, simple things. That ebook's no longer available on the website. So if you will give your email address to Haley in the back, we will send you that ebook. And it'll be up on the new website at some point, but who knows when that is, because, technology. So let us know if that's something that you're interested in. Number 2, lifestyle is the problem, but guess what? It's also the solution, and you are the one that's in control of that. And we need real health care. Not just managing our symptoms and diseases, but we actually need to be supported in creating these lifestyle solutions that are unique to us as individuals. So, life and health is a team sport. It really is about community. It really is about not only surrounding yourself with professionals that can support you in this, but it's also surrounding yourself with community and social support, with being involved in groups of people that are all doing this together as a team. Nobody wants to do this alone. That's no fun. Even if you get it right, what's the point? And last, we have to be vigilant about practicing love and pleasure, not only for yourself, but for others, because our health is not just for us. Right? The fear makes us vigilant about focusing on what's wrong. We need to be equally vigilant about focusing on what's right and going towards what we want. So, last little part of this. Why does ageism exist? Why do we as a society have such a pathetically poor opinion and way of treating those members of our society that are older, that have experienced more life? Okay? The root of this is the fear of death. Whenever a younger person looks at someone that's closer towards the death end than the birth end, okay, the fear of death gets triggered in our body, in their body. And if they're looking at an older individual who's miserable, who doesn't like themselves, who doesn't like their life, who is not enjoying their body, do you think we're adding to that fear of death or helping them out? What's the biggest problem? What's the biggest challenge with this current generation? We hear it all the time, right? Work ethic. Why? If the retired population is showing the younger population that you get to work and sacrifice your whole life, and right at the end, you get to be miserable for a few years before you die. What's the incentive in that? So the younger population is looking at the older population going, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to sacrifice if that's the reward that I want, if that's the reward that I'm going to get. So what do we need? What's the solution to this? The solution to this is that the retired population actually has the most important job out of any other population in society. Their job is to show the younger generation by example that it is amazing to live life and grow older. It is incredible to work hard your whole life and enjoy the crap out of the end part of it. If we are not showing the younger generation that it's worth it to work hard, they're smart. They're not going to do that. So it's actually the most important job after retirement to say, from here on out, not only am I going to enjoy the crap out of this body, not only am I going to enjoy everything and everyone around us because I choose it, I'm going to be a beacon so that the younger generation can learn a lot of my wisdom that I had to learn through pain. They can learn that wisdom, and they want to learn with me because I'm a happy person. I'm inspiring. They want to learn that wisdom without needing to go through that pain. And what do we get at the end of that? Whenever the generations are working together, we get more wisdom and we get less pain. Very welcome. So, again, my name is Dr. Tad. If you want more information, we have tons of good stuff on our website. Okay? If you would like to email us, okay, our email is organiclivingchiropractic@gmail.com. Facebook, we're on YouTube. Our YouTube has a lot of really cool classes, just like the one that you heard today, a lot of really good practical information. Check out our YouTube channel. Our most recent class, actually Haley taught, and it was about how to open your heart and the benefits of that, and it was an incredible experience. The whole room was crying, with gratitude and joy. The class before that, we actually talked about the strategies and the physiology of how to take pain that you're experiencing it and move it into a different part of your brain so that you could have that same experience actually through the pleasure pathways. How amazing would that be to be like, oh my gosh, I'm in pain, and a few minutes later be like, oh yeah, now I feel good. You have that capacity, but you have to actually learn how to do that. And that's our second most recent class. The second Thursday of every month, we have free community nights. We're very welcome to show up in person. If that's not something that you can do, most of the time we do that through Zoom. So you could join digitally or virtually, and you could always go to our YouTube page. Most of those classes end up on our YouTube. If you are interested in signing up for communication about our free Thursday classes, make sure that Haley also gets your email. Just put a little check by your email so I know you're signing up for the classes as well as the free ebook. Okay? And lastly, how many of us could use more ease, more balance, more coordination, more efficiency, more effectiveness, not only in our relationship and our body, but also in our life as well? Okay? Did you know that there's ways to measure this? There are ways to measure these functional aspects. And if you're measuring them, you know if what you're doing in life is working. You know if you're improving rather than just doing stuff hoping that it makes some changes. Okay? So if you're interested in how do you actually measure some of this stuff, okay, and we do this in our office, go ahead and talk to Haley at the end of this, and you can schedule for a free discovery call. And in this, the discovery call is designed to help you identify what is it that you really want in your health, in your body, in your mind, and in your life, and what needs to be measured to make sure that you're going in that direction, and is there any way that what we do can help you get that more easily. So thank you guys again so much. Anybody have any questions?